got a lot of content to cover. I do want to warn you that you're going to need to strap in, buckle down, and get ready for a big, very, very fast ride here. There's a lot of content you're going to get, and I'm really honored to have the kind of group that we have here to present our thoughts. It's really a trifecta, we'll call it a quadfecta, with the agency voice with us in the room. It's something that we take a big stake in at Anthem, that in this ecosystem we absolutely need to have the brand, the technology, the venture and the capital community, and then the agency community getting together to get to the next big ideas. And so we have, and if you take a look at the Twitter tags, please be sure to follow some of these folks. We have Kim Cha from Toyota joining us today. We have Tim Cheng from Norwest Venture Partners, and we have Jimmy Kim, who came all the way from Korea, and yes, his arms are still tired. So just flew in yesterday and is off to, I think, New York?
Yeah,
tomorrow. So anyway, that's the pace of things, the way things go in social gaming. Please use the #socialgaming hashtag if you are tweeting this, and definitely fire up your Twitter browser. We're definitely going to be bringing stuff that I think those outside of the room are going to want to know. We're going to do a little bit of an overview. We're going to go to Asia first with Jimmy and Nexon. We're going to take a look at the international trends with Tim, and then, of course, we're going to show how Toyota pwns social gaming. Here we go. All right. So social gaming, it's that big. How big is it? Why isn't this room like twice the size, full of people? Is it really the best-kept secret? When you take a look at digital, a lot of times the traditional agencies will say, yeah, digital's great, but does it have any scale? Absolutely it does. Social gaming every day is doing what you see in television at the biggest shows. So in the last week, you had American Idol, both Part 1 and Part 2, take about 48 million people. Now, you know, as Nielsen has done and some of the other measurements, there's a little bit of a thumb on the scale there, which is you've got a huge overlap audience. So let's call that really 30 million maybe people that actually watch that unique content. Same thing with Dancing with the Stars, same thing with NCIS. The difference with some of these social games like Cityville and Farmville and Texas Hold'em is that every single day you're getting these concurrent usage, you're getting these daily users, which are just absolutely amazing, and they're amassing millions of folks, and we'll show you some of those numbers. But it really has got the reach of TV, it's got the engagement of a really great game, and it's got the popular culture impact of Hollywood. So the question is why isn't everybody doing this? And I don't think people understand that it's that big. A lot of people don't understand that the next thing probably is going to come through gaming. It's probably going to be something that looks like Play, just like the iPhone, just like Twitter. It looks like something that's a little bit not so obvious, and social gaming is certainly that. Over half of the Facebook audience is on social games. 1 out of every 2 check-ins to Facebook is to actually check into a social game. It's actually bigger than gaming itself, and that's great for the console game business, which is struggling to even with innovations like the Kinect to continue to grow. It's that big. It's bigger than England on any given day, and the population of most countries. In a single month, it's bigger than the United States population. It's bigger than email. Social gaming past email, it's become the second most engaging activity online with 10% of the time use, and it's bigger than any other social network. Take LinkedIn, which took years to build, you take Twitter, you take any of them, and social gaming is much larger than any other social network. Bigger than Hollywood. Basically, if you take a look at this little quote by Katzenberg in terms of if there's anybody I'd like to be Mark Pincus. I'd like to be Mark Pincus. That guy is going to make bank. And it's the biggest and best ever. And when you see Jimmy's presentation where he'll tell you what they're doing over in Korea, you're going to see well over 40% EBITDA, profitability, just insane amount of profitability in this area. So as a marketer, why wouldn't you jump on? So we're going to take a quick tour of the players and worlds, and I guarantee you that go ahead and take snapshots of this picture. 3 months from now, it will not be the same, okay? 6 months from now, it won't be the same. And what you're starting to see is some of the mobile providers, some of the social gaming and casual gaming providers starting to show up. But let's take a look at the big three. Snapshot is Zynga, 268 million monthlies. Playfish, 36. Playdom, 18. Actually, really interesting. 3 months ago, they were up at 35 million. So you're seeing the Disney Playdom merger being a little bit of a building year for them. And then you get the DAUs and the MAUs in terms of monthly usage. So it's that big. We look at Zynga as leading in social games. It's number one hit. Anybody play Cityville here? Okay, well, 100 million people of those people who are outside of the world, this room, did in 8 weeks sign up for it, and under 8 weeks. Zynga is by far the largest, but not even a close second or third. If you combine second, third, and fourth, you're not going to come close to Zynga. They've done an amazing job of acquiring both users and developers as they got traction. So we see Zynga basically making social games basically a network unto itself. There's Playfish with EA Playfish, certainly leading developer with 35 million players a month. They've got some great titles. We see them bring a lot of the EA titles over. Really interesting question is, will existing IP, intellectual property coming from Hollywood and from sports, will it be able to translate and become as big as the original IP it's being created on the social gaming platform, like the Ville games, the Cityville, you had a great one called Spouseville, like that. That anybody can steal that idea. And then we have Playdom, which is certainly with the Disney, we're going to expect to see them bring in the publisher and media model coming forward with a Disney Network IP coming on it. We have Rock U, which was a classic player in the social gaming, Digital Chocolate, where you see some mobile. CrowdStar has a couple of hits that are breaking out and really interesting, and that's kind of what you're going to see is independent studios having a handful of breakouts. PopCap, which has been a really good, long-standing player in casual gaming, making its move in social gaming as well. So in the next 24 months, if you think that the first 24 months was an amazing ride, wait till you see what happens next. So it's a lot more than just fun and games. We believe that there's a rich get richer phenomena in social gaming where you see folks pressing their early footprint and growing. Zynga absolutely did this. They went and acquired users and developers really quickly. And if you saw last year, we marveled as Frontierville got, in just 6 weeks, got to 26 million people. And then we were blown away again in December when they got to Cityville, when Cityville launched rather earlier this year and got to 100 million in under 8 weeks. What you're seeing there isn't that it's just the gaming dynamics as something that's really blowing this up. What you understand, it's bringing lawyer guns and money, basically. It's by bringing this incredible war chest to go acquire users. It's the lawyers, which protect your domain. In fact, everybody in the space, I think, is suing everybody else in the space. It's the marketing. That's the new intellectual property. It's not just the social gaming itself. It's actually that precision marketing that they're doing, the A/B testing of absolutely everything that they're doing. That really is the intellectual property here, and we're seeing it being leveraged for great growth. Our take is that social gaming really isn't for amateurs. So if you're a brand, you're thinking about building your own, we really think if you just consider that IP I was just talking about, we really think that you should leave that to the experts because it does take a dedicated force just to become really expert at that. So we really think it's about playing with these players rather than creating your own. There's a lot of different ways to do that. We'll take a look at that in a moment. But when you're entering these worlds, advertising is less than 10% of their revenues, and social games only monetize 1 to 5% in the U.S. Jimmy's going to tell you a different story in Korea and in Asia. Beyond the endemic placements, if you think about being in cafe world and being PepsiCo and owning all the fountains, there's a really simple endemic placement. There's a lot of ways that we're encouraging our clients to look to align values and the audience. And when you think about this, there's a little bit of a different way than just going out and doing the massive media buy. A lot of times what we're doing is we're literally building folios for our clients, saying, here's our portfolio of brands, PepsiCo, Unilever, whatever, and here's social gaming company, why you should pay attention to them. Here's the kind of places that we'd like to connect, and we literally brief these gaming companies on our needs, And because they know their networks, they know their game mechanics, they know their demographics better than we ever will, they come back to us with programs. They're a real partner in developing the programs. So that's a way of taking a look at this. There's a different gamer for every game, and social gamers' key values are games are a way to amplify the fun had with friends. Social gaming is a lot more about getting together with friends than the actual game itself. That's a really important dynamic. If you think about it, every marketer, I'm guessing everybody here who's got a Twitter account or a Facebook account has the same question. Okay, I've got my social network set up. Now, what do I do? Well, consumers are doing the same thing. Consumers are saying, hey, I've got this great Facebook presence now. My network's all set up. Now what I do? And social gaming does a great job of answering that. So in terms of levels of commitment, we look at branded virtual goods as probably the lowest level of commitment, but also incredibly effective. Branded games, game interactions, new game mechanics, and we'll go through really quickly some case studies of each. So branded virtual goods, definitely the lowest area. We just described some of that, and there you see it sort of like happening with Dr. Pepper 7-Up, where you see them taking over an entire cafe. You see the virtual goods, the limited items that you can get, which are Dr. Pepper oriented. The next level up is to actually get involved in some of the game mechanics, and that involves creating custom branded items, which give customer rewards within the existing game mechanics. So think about specific power-ups. You know, if I drink the Lipton tea, then I get some great vitality, or I get to groove a little bit better in my dancing moves. One of the examples of a placement here is Bing and Zynga. Launching Bing basically in Farmville allowed you to build the logo. As you built that logo out, you got some unlocks. There was some really beautiful, smart integration into the actual search engine process. But they acquired 425 new fans. It was a 360% jump in less than 1 day, and 70% of them actually came back. So that retention is really interesting. We heard the same thing from a consumer packaged goods area. So our friends at NBC Universal launched Public Enemy within Mafia Wars. Now, you can argue that that's pretty endemic. The job that you had to do was to basically spring John Dillinger, and the gaming mechanic was basically you got more energy, you got more guns. They got nearly 1 billion impressions, 54 million loot interactions. That sounds like a lot. It is a lot. 44 million jobs completed. People actually went and sprung Dillinger from jail. They got 19 million unique players, so that sounds like a lot. It is a lot. There's only football and an Obama interview that basically blows away 20 million consistently on TV. So this is a lot of people here. And the other thing that we heard was on DVD sales, a lot of times you have a regression curve right after Street Date. This regression curve didn't go rapidly down. It just kept going and going and going. So really strong sales as a result of that. So it's that big. And then, of course, there's even raising money for good and causes, which Zynga has done. The higher level interaction is when you actually start changing the game mechanics. That takes a lot. One of the things I failed to mention earlier was these gaming companies have got 800 open recs for engineers. In order to get them to prioritize doing custom engineering, you really have to come with both a bag of cash and a lot of commitment, something that's going to be really valuable inside their games. So these kind of things take 3 to 4 months to create. But if you think about how in Gatorade you were actually able to do the dump on the coach, really endemic, really makes a lot of sense. Interestingly enough, they're seeing 24% increase in purchase within the user group that did it. They saw a great 3-to-1 ROI, and they also saw product penetration increase 9% among new consumers of the brand. So really interesting how we're starting to see the virtual worlds driving real-world transactions. Levels of commitment, the highest level of commitment is actually when you do a multi-channel approach, and really want to encourage anybody here who's a marketer to start thinking about this deeply. It's going to look a lot more like a business development deal than it is going to a media buy. A good example of that was with 7-Eleven with their virtual goods program, where they basically took all their plain label products, they wrapped them with Farmville stuff. First of all, they looked really cool. They looked probably as good as some of the branded content out there because they had this very cool look to them. But they also just nailed it on almost every single KPI you would imagine for retail, which is during day part. They saw people coming mornings and evenings, not just during the middle of the day. They saw moms bringing their kids, not just teens. They saw greater frequency. Someone who came once a week in for a Slurpee suddenly came once a day, so that they could up their they can get their codes and send them to grandma in Texas who couldn't participate. There was a basket mix where they saw people actually buying preference for their water, and they saw this overall, hey, this is a cool factor, relevancy. Any one of those things for a retailer would be a home run. So this was a grand slam program in terms of how it performed, and it's a little peek into the real power of social gaming, being able to unlock real world value with virtual goods. So Jimmy, why don't you share with us a little bit about the view from Korea, and almost as a precursor to what's to come here.
Sure, no problem at all. Hi, my name is Jimmy Kim. I'm CEO of Nexon Nova, but my company is called Nexon. We have a group. We have about 16 companies and everything right now. We're the #1 online gaming provider in Japan, Korea, and overall we have about 30 games, but we're serviced in 72 countries with a registered audience of 350 million people around the world. We're starting out in the United States, but we have some good traction here also. But we're the #1 microtransaction, first to develop it, but also the #1 microtransaction. All our games are microtransaction. And the interesting thing is, after iTunes, if you go to 7-Eleven or Target, we're the #1 so-called prepaid card in the United States right now. So we're getting a lot of traction in the United States right now. Cool. Right? Right? Oh. So I'm just going to go through, just introduce you what's going on in Asia, to Nexon and our games, and then a lot of people ask me, in-game advertising, people have horrible experiences. Why isn't it taking it off? So this is kind of my opinion, our view, and our experience of what we're going to share today. So what is online gaming? So Farmville and everything else, they have an interesting thing, like we call it more session-based because you're really online, but you're not really playing together. Our definition of online game is you play concurrently. So you have people, servers, where people, like a chat room, where you have real people, real time, talking together through the internet. So the content is not chatting, but content is a game. So synchronous, concurrent play through the internet. Well, access it to where? Not just on the PC, but with Android and iPhone coming out, I think people access their games through the PC, but also through Android and iPhone devices. And also, yes, we're a content company compared to games where EA and everybody package and shrink wrap. We believe that online gaming is really a service. So such as Japan release and your Haitian release, that you can now continue to make the relevant content as you go on, and also adjust campaigns or scenarios as a service. Like if a quest comes out, it doesn't go too well, then you can change the gaming mechanics to adjust to the demographics and everything else. So it really is a service rather than a product. Now this is the global online game market size. The numbers aren't here, but as of 2010, it's a $15 billion market. 2008, we're thinking 18 billion. 2012, we're talking about 21 billion. So it's a compound annual growth rate of 22%, where 70% is really Asia. Now, compared to the global gaming market I told you right now, I mean, we're continuing to grow about 14, 15%. As you can see right now, 2010 is about 125 billion. This year, it's 132, and then 140. But our online growth is continuing to grow because we have no devices. When you want to go to a console game, you have to buy Kinect. Not only have to buy the device, you have to buy the media also. But online gaming and social gaming is very thin that it kind of, everybody, you have your device, your PC, you have your iPhone, and everything else. That's why we believe it's growing very quickly also. So, okay, let's look at the online gaming side. 2 years ago, China was 20%. So China definitely is taking the lead because, as you know, console is very weak there, but online gaming is just taking off in China right now. So if you look at companies like Tencent, it's a $45 billion company right now. They're the major social graph and so-called social, they're the messenger, and also they're the main publisher. Half of the revenues now, they started as a messenger service, but now half of the revenues now are coming from gaming. So you can see right now that this is Korea being the leader, and being Korean, I'm kind of sad, but got to face reality that China is China. So this is where it is right now. So why is online gaming taking off in Asia and not so much in, not yet in the States? Well, the key thing is that the technical infrastructure. We have broadband. I have 70 megabytes dedicated to my home. So when I come here to the States, I go crazy. I have to find a Wi-Fi, get drop calls and everything right now. But mobile networks and broadband networks, I mean, you can't lie to people, say, hey, oh, we just got disconnected because, drop calls, AT&T. In Korea, it's like, you're lying. You don't want to talk to me. That's how it goes. There's no such thing like that. On top of that, there's many ways to monetize. from your local phone bill to your mobile bill to prepaid cards to even gift cards. There's about 50 different ways to bill a user. So in the States, it's been frustrating because there's not many ways, and there's not many people are trying to get out of it, find new ways to bill. That's why microtransaction or prepaid cards are our major ways going it. So, and on top of that, cultural and social factors. I was having a dinner yesterday. I saw the San Francisco Giants games coming out, and I saw, there's pastimes, there's baseball. But in Korea, it's really, we go to PC cafes and we hang out, and then we play against each other in games. So I think it was just quicker to pick up. So there's cultural factors also involved in Asia also. Now this is Nexon Group. I'm very proud of this graph. This year we'll do estimate about 771 million, about 384 million will be our profit. So you can see where it goes. 10-year growth, we had a 52% compound annual growth rate, 45% on a 5-year growth. So we have an annual double-digit growth. So if Nexon, we define ourselves that we had double-digit growth. This is one of our factors that we pride ourselves that every year we have double-digit growth. So this is just one of the snapshots of how fast we're growing and how fast Asia is growing right now. And this is, I think, what's to come here pretty soon. So this is just a snapshot. Well, like I said, what is online gaming or gaming itself? We think it's a service, not a product. Transformers, as you know, there's a P&A advertising, there's a whole build-up, and then after 2 or 3 months, then you're pretty much done, and then you work on the next thing. We have double-digit engagement. Our games, when people play our games, compared to Farmville, we're like little mid-core, our average engagement is 24 months. So once a user comes in, the average user plays our games for 24 months consistently, and that's average. We have games that are 7 or 8 year olds that still are generating much revenue and continue going on. These are just some of the games that we have, over 30 games, from MMORPGs, where role-playing games, action games, shooting games, and also casual games right now. And also we have DS and also Android games coming soon. So this is one of the things that I think I want to illustrate and mark. Dungeon & Fighter is a game in China. We have 200 million registered users. 1 out of 6, every Chinese plays this game. So if you go to China, you go, do you play Dungeon & Fighter? They'll definitely, half will know about it, but 1 out of 6 actually play it. Every day, we have 2.4 million people log into our servers, concurrently play it around the world. So we're talking about 2.4 million every day logging in, playing, and seeing the same message right now. So this is just the power of online gaming. It's how it's interactive and it's immersive and everything right now. So this is average. On top of that, we have, in our Nexon games, 1,000 people get married every day to Las Vegas and all the chapels. And in our shooting games, we have killed 175 billion, million zombies have died since starting from this year. And then every year, people buy items that kind of change their looks and plastic surgery, we call it. 1,500 people a day change their looks and hairstyle and everything else. So this is how immersive, interactive it is, how gaming could be. So we believe in really seeing that connection, the content will bring the connection. So the game is really the content that links up the people that continue to connect, not only with other users that bring community, but also bring competition. Oh, you have that car, or you have that look, you have this, you have that item. It really brings in competition. As we know, when we try to up each other, even with our friends. So the content is a major link that only makes a connection double-digit, but also helps the community grow double-digit. And then gamification is providing competition. We believe that it's no longer the PC anymore, that it really is that the PC, mobile, and social is going to be the connected user for the future. So let's talk about, once again, it says Zynga and Facebook has really brought a new larger base of demographics, and then it really showed the power of a viral social graph. So why haven't games taken off? So a lot of people, in the beginning, people thought that you can just repurpose content. So you can say this is a shooting game, then people were just repurposing content. But for the user, it was not super bullets or super guns, it was just billboards. So they didn't really care about this right now. On top of that, there are no clear metrics. Advertising companies come to us, can you talk about UV, CPIs, and we couldn't provide clear metrics either because it was different from web sessions right now. But at Nexon, this is our game that we are providing some successful examples, like as we said, as Mark just said in commitments. BMW Mini came to us and they wanted to be cool. So Kart Rider is a major game right now. So we made Mini better handling. So we also another 3-month commitment. better handling, better gripping, and everything right now. So this really helped the young image of the image because it was a cool car. And on top of that, Coca-Cola had items that make you go faster and jump higher, and everything right now. Hello Kitty, if they said that if you buy the whole Hello Kitty suit, you can have special emotions or dance and everything else right now. And Coca-Cola, when they launched Zero, they said that if you find this item, you'll be invincible for 15 minutes. So it really linked up with the brand. These are some successful examples that we have right now. So virtual goods, we call it the virtual goods matrix. So when you design items, it's decorative items like sets, that you see on the right that look really good, that people go well, and ability items that make you go faster, jump higher, shoot better. And also set items. So like I said, if you wear the set, you get other abilities or everything right now. And also the key thing is limited editions. People go crazy for limited editions, as in real life and everything right now. So when brand marketers and companies, we tell them, well, these are the matrix that you should think about. As a gaming company, we ask you to make investments. And said that a lot of people come to us, they give us like a $10,000 budget. Because the P&A was $40 million for our P&A budget, we have $10,000 left. Let's do something in social gaming. But really, if you want to make it effective, we believe that there should be trials and errors and maybe time and effort. And then really view this as a real-time interactive platform. And then we want the marketers to come to us to really define, okay, what are the items, what are the brand message you want to do, and then we can define the metrics, and then we can define the online, mobile, offline user experience. So I hope that I just blew through as fast as I can because I have other two guests right now. But this is just the state of online gaming, and this is just my view of our experience of how things work in Asia.
All right, we should thank Mark here. You're getting essentially the equivalent of 3 sessions at Game Developer Conference in one. So this is probably going to make your head explode because we're going to go into now state-of-the-art around the world. This is all cutting-edge stuff. I don't even think analyst reports cover this kind of thing yet. I'll try to cut down the buzzwords. If anybody hears a term they don't quite get, let me know. I'm Tim Chang with Norwest Venture Partners. My Twitter handle is actually Time Change, and it's because I do our China practice, so I'm in perpetual state of jet lag. So it's actually T-I-M-E, change. Quick intro, Norwest Venture Partners, where I'm a partner. We're one of the largest and oldest running venture capital firms in Silicon Valley. Been around since 1961, did about 400 companies. We were 10% of the venture capital market in 2009, raised largest fund back then of $1.2 billion, which we're actively investing out of in the US, in India, Israel, and I do our China practice as well as the US. Done a lot in gaming. That's been a big focus area of mine. Had a bit of good fortune last year. My investments in Playdom and NGMocha were the 2 largest outcomes in social gaming to date. And again, to give you a sense of how fast this market has grown, those 2 companies created $1.1 billion of combined market value in barely 2 years. Okay, so you think about how fast these things are going, it's pretty amazing. All right, so what's happening on a global trend? What is going on now? You've heard the overview of what social gaming is the tutorial, and here's the state of the market overall. So basically, this started in the US and in markets like Korea and Japan, but the social gaming battlefield is all over the place. It's way beyond the US, and it's a global fight right now. What are they fighting for? Distribution power, new revenue streams, and talent acquisition. Beyond that, not just for online browser now, but mobile is a whole new frontier which is set to double, if not triple the size of the market, and it's all feature phones, but especially Android phones, iOS devices. With the expansion globally, you're getting new publishing models, new business models emerging, which we'll dive into a little bit. And one of the biggest questions out there now is, will Facebook dominate the planet, or will other incumbent networks and new networks pop up to challenge their power and become the new incumbents overall? This is a really interesting question because when you look at the size of the market, think of it this way. Half of the planet will be a social network member. Half of those social network users will play a social game. In theory, half of all those social game players can be monetized through a microtransaction, an ad, or some sort of marketing revenue, or a subscription. So we're essentially talking about 1/8 of the entire planet. That's a pretty big market. So which dominant social network is kind of like the equivalent of asking who's going to be the Best Buy or the Virgin Records kind of that world, the new retail store shelf, right? And then we're seeing a lot of new genres emerging beyond just the original Farmville and sort of Xville games, Petville, Cityville, etc. So what are people fighting for? New revenue streams. look, the U.S. battle is over. Zynga won. They killed everybody, okay? So they are the giant gorilla there. There's going to be a lot of niche players, indies that pop up, but no one will approach Zynga's scale. And so that's why everyone's flocking to mobile. Apple was a very open app store, but the problem with this open app store, tens of thousands of applications. How are you going to get your app to stand out above the noise of the others? So it's been very hard to cut above that noise. Another new revenue stream, though, is advertising, marketing, and lead gen. Traditionally, the state of social gaming works this way. You'll have, out of 100 players, only one, maybe two, will actually purchase virtual goods. You're talking about monetizing 1, maybe 2% of your player base. For Asian online games, often you can bring that number up to 10% because they're deeper games and you're targeting a gamer audience. Social gamers in general are not self-ascribed gamers. That's why the conversion rates are very low. Does that mean 99% of the audience is non-monetizable? That was conventional wisdom, but a lot of new players are figuring out how to monetize them through new ad models, okay? So that's a whole new revenue stream. Just a quick example, we just invested in a company down in LA called Social Vibe. They invented an ad format called CPE, cost per engagement. The difference between CPE and CPM is that you've got the notion of buying something or earning it. Let's say you're playing Farmville. You're at the point you really want that purple tractor. You go to the paywall, and you can say you can either buy with credit card, PayPal, or you can earn it. And here's how you earn it. Here are 6 TV spot ads to watch. Pick any one. At the end of it, tell the advertiser, the brand, what you think. They've got a question or two for you. And then, by the way, would you repost that on your Facebook wall? So in the case of, say, Toy Story 3, they'll show you the trailer. At the end, it'll ask you a question. What was your favorite toy when you were growing up? And then most of the time, 60% plus will repost that on their Facebook wall, which causes that to go viral. Those CPE rates sell that up to $1. When you back out the CPM, that's a $500 to $1,000 CPM effective rate. And the scale and the reach is massive. So this is going to be a transformation in the advertising industry in digital media, which is this earn it model. I encourage everybody to think about that. The age of the one-time campaign is dead. It's all going to be about measuring engagement and catching the user when they want something. Beyond gaming, think of Pandora. You want another month of unlimited music? Earn it. Watch or engage with these ads. Do something that we can measure and track. Better yet, buy something. Engage in this Groupon or this deal or this offer. So that's where we see things shifting, okay? On distribution power, I've always said that if content is king, then distribution power is God Almighty. Now, the truth is you need both together. It's hard to build distribution power without killer content. However, I will argue that content without an eye towards a distribution strategy means you're just stuck in the old hit-based content model that was never that appealing. When you have new platforms open up, like Facebook social networks or smartphone application platforms, distribution is all up for grabs. Walmart has nothing on those areas. EA has nothing on those areas. That's why everybody's really fighting for distribution power. The original 3 pillars of Facebook social gaming came from, number 1, virality, your ability to get viral invites everywhere. Number 2, your ability to cross-promote your games across your player base, right? That's like an entire network of your existing players you can cross-promote your new game into, as opposed to having to advertise and get them from scratch. And the third one was spending on Facebook advertising. The problem is, as Facebook took virality out of the platform, that emphasizes the power of the other two. Cross-promotion to an existing player base and the budget, the war chest you have to spend on Facebook ads. That's why Zynga won, because they had the biggest war chest, the biggest player base. No one can catch up, and it's effectively game over in the US. But the rest of the world is all open, and we'll dive in that a little bit. So, social networks in other regions are opening up their application platforms. They all want to take a page out of the Facebook playbook and invite developers onto their platforms. So that's why less crowded territories are interesting to exploit and build distribution powers overseas. And then lastly, mobile has never had virality. There's never really been a good mobile viral invite flow on Android apps or iPhone apps. So the question exists, is there an opportunity to create a Zynga-style distribution network or an Xbox Live-style community on top of iPhone or Android? That's why everyone's fighting over mobile right now. Last point very quickly, talent acquisition. It's getting extremely expensive to build social games as they get bigger and better on production value, and it's really hard to hire engineers. Between trying to grab people away from Google, Zynga, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, just hiring people is extremely expensive, so it's become better to go acquire teams overseas, and that's what has been sort of the state of the battleground overseas. So, quick snapshot, just a regional survey. In Japan, Japan's been the #2 market everyone's going to after the US. Why? 80% of usage for Japan is on mobile. On mobile, people are used to paying for things, right? They're used to buying virtual goods and using the carrier billing. That's why, although there's a small market of daily active users, smaller population, very high average revenue per user. So it is the most lucrative region to go outside of the US if you're trying to expand. There are 3 different players battling to be the Facebook of Japan: DNA, Gree, and Mixi. All are opening their app platforms, and interestingly, they're now taking their business into the US, China, etc. because, again, as we said, mobile is an open playing field. China, this one's interesting. Huge market in terms of DAUs, right? But relatively low ARPUs, average revenue per user. So not long ago, the hit social game in China would barely generate for you $750,000 a month. Now, compare that to a good, even a mediocre social game in the US should be cranking away at $2 to $3 million a month for you in terms of revenue, right? So we're still waiting for the revenue per user to go up. However, the market is extremely familiar with the so-called freemium model, meaning free to play plus premium features inside, a microtransaction, a subscription, something else like that. There, though, in China, primarily it's been online play with PC cafes and networks like Tencent, which is the dominant Facebook of China, and then 3 challengers that are trying to rise up there. Low-cost labor pool means very good target-rich place for acquiring new teams. And then you've got a lot of very strong public, massively multiplayer online game companies that do these RPG games now, and Tencent entering the US for IP and for talent. Korea, we've already heard the story from Jimmy. It's been very strong traditionally with hardcore and mid-core gaming markets. StarCraft is like the national sport of Korea, right? Basically. They even have like breakfast cereals, I think, with StarCraft on that. So you don't have Tony the Tiger, you have this science fiction RTS game instead. NHN, Nexon, they are becoming global players as well. They are aggressively expanding into other markets: China, US, Brazil, Europe, etc. Very well suited for mid-core play. Mid-core is, think of it as lighter weight hardcore gaming. Instead of buying a console to play Call of Duty, imagine playing, kind of Call of Duty light through maybe a browser or a download on a PC, and that vastly broadens the market as well. Brazil, this one's a very, very hot, shiny new place to go, not only because it's fun to go, but turns out that they actually do spend money on social games. Extremely social player base culturally. Orkut has been the dominant network there, but Facebook is coming in like a 10-ton train and gaining momentum very quickly. Payment methods remain challenging, but they're on the rise so that people are paying, and it's rising. I was very surprised when I spent time down there how many people convert to paid and the ways that they pay. So, for example, instead of credit card or PayPal, you might go to your local corner store, buy a prepaid card, or even pay right there, get a printed receipt, redeem a code online. And so there's different payment methods around the world. You've got native companies like Mentes and Vostu looking to fend off the market away from Zynga and others who will try to come in via Facebook. Russia is very fascinating. They've got this giant dominant network of their own called Kontakti. You've got a lot of these import publishers like iJet. What they'll do is they'll license games from a Zynga or other developers in Asia, localize them, and then operate them in the native region of Russia, and then split the revenue back to the developer. However, as we all know, Russia, stereotypically has been a very tricky region to operate in for all sorts of reasons. It remains challenging to this day. Well, that's probably why I haven't done an investment there. I'm really scared of what happens if an investment doesn't go well. In India, this is nascent, but there's huge potential here. I think you're going to see a lot of people trying to jump into India and build an India gaming market over the next few years. People will always criticize India and said, broadband penetration is only 10% of China, but people forget how big the mobile market there is. And these so-called gray market Android phones, gray market meaning that you'll go to these distributors and websites. You can configure your own Android phone as if you're buying a Dell computer. They'll ship it to you with all the options you want. It has no name brand on the phone and is the equivalent of a $90 Android phone. Not the highest end, doesn't always work, but it works good enough. And what it is doing is bringing smartphone penetration into the mass population. Well, those smartphones are made to be able to play these sort of social games and other applications. So that will probably jumpstart the social gaming market via mobile in India. So that's why mobile is the hot new shiny toy. The company I invested in, NG Moko, brought the social gaming model to mobile and created, $400 million of value in basically 2 years. And what it did is it caused the whole market to pay attention and say, oh my God, instead of these, traditional Snake or Tetris or simple little download games, we can have the equivalent of Farmville type games on mobile. And so it's very interesting because it's open playing ground because guys like Zynga do not have the incumbent distribution power on iPhone that they did have on Facebook. They're just another player along with everybody else. This has created this huge jump ball, dozens of companies piling in to play copycat on social games for mobile, and it's a wide open playing field, which is really nice. So Android is the next big thing. Everyone's looking at, oh wow, and Apple turned on in-app purchases, which enabled in-game transactions. Android just now turned on the same thing. If there's going to be more Android devices than Apple devices, that should triple the size of the market, right? So I think that's why everybody's looking at Android now. And my other favorite dimension, tablets. Tablets have an even bigger screen for gaming, and those will be the perfect device, especially for youth games, so-called edutainment. Put it this way, how many folks have iPads and, when your kids start acting up, it's the perfect pacifier, right? And that's I firmly believe, going to be the place the next Club Penguin comes out of. So that's going to be a very new opportunity. Very good for marketers, too, because that interface, larger screen real estate, more rich media, more engaging marketing programs you can have. New publishing models very quickly. Globally, it's very hard for you to localize yourself. What people typically do is find a localization partner that already has distribution and payment methods. Payment is key, distribution is the other key. What they'll do is they'll localize your game for you, they'll operate it, and then do a rev split back. And you're seeing this model happening in the US, as well as in Asia, Latin America, Eastern Europe, all the emerging markets. All these localizer, importer, publishers are popping up everywhere. And giant companies like the Nexons and NHNs go direct by opening their own offices in a US or native region to try to go direct into those local markets. All right? So basically the approaches are you can have your own local team building original IP. You can copycat. You can just basically rip off Farmville, localize it yourself before Zynga gets there. That's the rip-off strategy. You can license a game and then localize it with a revenue split back to the developer. Or you can even do co-development, kind of these JVs, and then do revenue shares. Key lesson learned, owning IP is important. One of the things that killed a lot of the importer guys early on, you would try to localize a game from, say, Korea. You're working on it, you need changes to the code because you need to localize it in the market. Meanwhile, you're asking the Korean developer, hey, I need this change. They're saying, we're busy tuning the game for Korea, and by the way, China's our next most important market. Don't really care about Argentina right now. And so you'd be waiting for these changes, and you couldn't respond quickly enough to the market, and that's why this notion of owning source code or IP is the biggest question for this kind of new model. So what's next? If Facebook dominates more of the global scene, will this import-export model go away? Because frankly, if you are strong in Facebook, it's not too hard to localize it and just go run it in Facebook overseas if Facebook dominates the world. On mobile side, will a Facebook of mobile, a Zynga of mobile, pop up in the US, this giving rise to a challenger for Facebook? We've got new genres coming. Instead of these lightweight farm type of games, you're going to have deeper games, which I call mid-core games, to social platforms, and those are great. They monetize really well. Instead of just 1% playing, you might have 10, 15, 20% of users paying and converting subscriptions. And then essentially that's what I call the end of social gaming 1.0. That battle was already over in just 2 years. But huge market, new genres coming up, and it's a global marketplace that's happening. And as I alluded to earlier, whole new models with advertising and marketing that are yet to even be built to monetize that other 99% of players who don't buy the virtual good. All right?
Hi, everybody. So you've heard a great overview of the social gaming landscape and what's happening globally and what the future trends are. I'm here to talk about how a brand has worked with social gaming and specifically about how Prius used it to launch the new portfolio of Prius models. So first, objectives and strategies. As some of you may know, earlier this year, Toyota announced that we will be expanding the Prius lineup of vehicles from just one Prius and adding 3 additional models within the next year. And so we really used gaming to help reveal that, and it was a core part of our strategy, probably the first time that we've actually done that. We've had initiatives that have used gaming in the past as a tactic, but this is the first time we actually had an entire gaming ecosystem. So objectives for this, we wanted to increase awareness, favorability, and consideration of the new Prius family of vehicles. increase brand favorability, and purchase consideration. So strategies leverage the entire gaming ecosystem. We wanted to make sure with everything that we do, whether it's gaming or digital or TV or whatever it is, try and be as engaging as possible, try and provide some sort of value to the consumer so that they'll spend more time with our brand and be more likely to get our brand message. And then also foster social interaction and sharing through YouTube and Facebook, et cetera. Our target for this, we call it the eco-modernists. They're people who are highly visual, take pride and pleasure in leading an eco and tech-friendly lifestyle. And just with Prius in general has really been at the forefront of innovation. We wanted to make sure that our advertising and media really reach consumers in new and engaging ways as well. So why gaming for Prius? It really fits with the Prius mindset, provides an outlet for creativity and sharing. Gamers are auto-influencers and decision makers, so 48% of gamers actually provide advice about automobiles. And actually there's another study that shows that eco-conscious intenders, hybrid intenders, are more likely to own a game console or to participate in some form of gaming. And we've done gaming in the past for probably the past 10 years, and we really find that providing strong in-game branding can lead to increased awareness, purchase intent, and a perceived lift in perception. So again, a 360 approach. What we're going to focus on here is social gaming, but we had PC, console, mobile, tablet, and social covered for Prius. What were three main partnerships? Cartown, Monopoly, and Little Big Planet. Little Big Planet, not traditional social, but involves creating a game and actually social interaction within the console. So Cartown, it is actually a top 20 game in Facebook, over 8 million users, a highly engaged, large audience of auto enthusiasts. Description of the game, so we revealed the vehicles in Detroit. We had the vehicles under wrap actually in the Cartown game. And so simultaneously with the live event, we unveiled the vehicles in Cartown. I believe it's the first time that they've done that in Cartown or in any virtual game. Really successful campaign that we had going on since Prius is expanding. Big question in our community is, what is the plural of Prius? Is it Prii, Prius, Priuses? Some of you may not care, but really engaging question to our core audience of consumers. So if you voted for that in the game, you actually received a t-shirt, a virtual item, that your avatar could wear. Other thing, the Prius family was made available for purchase in the game, so every couple weeks a new Prius member, up to 4, were made available, and that would grow your virtual tree, and the bigger your virtual tree grow, the more gold coins that you could earn, and the more coins that you could actually use to buy cars inside the game, and provide you opportunity to do other tasks within the game. And then also, first time in this game, we actually gave away the Prius C concept. It's the smaller Prius in the game if you like the Toyota Facebook page, or you could actually buy it as well. So now I'm just going to show you a little video. Measuring success, over 13 million people visited the virtual showroom, which we think is fantastic. This actually exceeded our wildest expectations for success. 1.5 million people actually voted. That's unique because you can only vote one time in the game. For the plural of Prius, if you're curious, the winning plural was Prii. So there are 4 Prii coming. And that was 80% of the total votes for that contest that was going on. You could also vote on Toyota.com or on Facebook. Number of video plays, 90% of the people actually watched the commercial, which talked about the Prius, plural of Prius and the upcoming models, which is great. And now Prius is the #1 largest market share in Cartown of vehicles. Before we had a 0.04% market share in the game, now we're 14%. And as a halo effect, the old Prius, second generation, increased market share by 1,600%. So now that makes it as popular as a Lamborghini Legardo. Sorry if I got that wrong. And then Prius Facebook fan integration, as I mentioned, we gave away the Prius C concept. We had a 447% growth in our fan page on Prius. And we were worried, are they just doing it because they want the free item? Sure, some of them. But we've actually had a 96% retention rate, so not very many people unliking us afterwards. Next example, we have worked with, for the launch of 3rd Gen Prius in May of '09, we worked with EA on this game called The Sims 3, really successful integration for Prius. We partnered with them again on their social gaming platform, Playfish. It's the second fastest growing app on Facebook, just launched at the end of January, over 5 million users at this time. Toyota was a launch partnership, and it was a first market opportunity for us. We had ownership monopoly across all platforms, so really important to us. We want to make sure that we're not just in Facebook, but we want to own all the areas that you can play Monopoly through EA. Description, it's in-game integration. We feel that it's going to be a Prius mover and an eco house. So if you play with the Prius mover, actually in the real world, there was a limited collection board game that actually had a real Prius in it that was taken up into space and was part of the Millennium thing. So shows you how Prius has been incorporated into the culture. So you can use this mover in Facebook in the game and also unlock an eco house, which provides in-game benefits to you. You can collect more money and things like that. And the eco house is a limited edition, so as these guys talked about earlier, collectability is really something that drives social interaction in these games. So just a little bit on here. You wake. So over here on the right, you can see the eco house. So just like the game, this campaign is still going on, so it's just the middle of it right now. Over 800,000 movers and eco houses have been downloaded. Actually, the Prius mover has been played with over 500,000 times a day just for the past week alone. For the past month, over 13 million people have used the Prius mover to play with. So really great results so far out of the gate. It's still going, and more than 250,000 eco houses have actually been purchased and not just earned in the game. So ongoing, but really successful so far in providing an engaging experience for those people to remember Prius. Last thing, Little Big Planet is a PlayStation game. It is really great because it allows people to play, create, and share. In the game, it's a natural behavior in the game. Last year alone, there's different levels, and people actually create, and last year over 1 million levels were created by the people who play the game. So a really natural way to integrate was the developers actually developed a Prius-specific level, and this launched in January, and it was called Little Big Prius. So there was a customizable XMB theme, which is a skin. First time an advertiser had done that. Prius was actually featured in PlayStation Home in the central square. First time an advertiser had done that as well. And there was a contest with this. So I'm going to play the video actually so you can get an idea with this.
When Little Big Planet 2 arrives in stores on January 18th, Toyota will be sponsoring exclusive new content. Along with a free dynamic XMB theme, there's also a special Prius-themed Little Big Planet 2 level that allows players to collect items for use in building their own levels, and then submitting them to the community for a chance to win some very cool prizes. For more details, check out the PlayStation blog. Pick up your copy of Little Big Planet 2 exclusively for the PlayStation 3. Go online with Little Big Planet 2, and under the community option, perform a text search for Little Big Prius, created by Little Big Partner. Now it's time to play. Pick up the prize bubbles within the level, listening for the rooster's crow to let you know when you found them all. Create create your own level for the contest using the objects you collected from prize bubbles in the Little Big Prius level. Try to use as many of the collected objects as possible. When finished, name the level Prius_your level name here and publish your level to the Little Big Planet community. By the PlayStation Network. We've got the top 10 add-ons and a look at a spacey expansion in PlayStation Home coming up a bit later. But first, we want to tell you about the winners of the Little Big Prius contest sponsored by Toyota. Over 800 user-generated levels were created, played, and rated by the community. The 5 finalists were Driving Test, Eco Adventure, Prius Commercial, Prius Goes Hollywood, and Prius Fights Back. And the grand prize winner is, Sackboy, Eco Adventure by R. Hansen 2. His winning creation is a lush and inspiring 3-part action adventure. Congratulations! He's now the owner of a Sony Bravia.
So really great. We feel like this is they weren't just playing the game and interacting with us, but took the time to create a game. We've done machinima contests in the past and this generated almost 900 levels being created by the community. It takes a lot of time and effort. And the winning one actually incorporated the theme for Prius, which is harmony between man, nature, and machine. And each level had, man, nature, and machine. So a lot of work and a lot of time spent with Toyota and Prius. It's actually the number 9 most hearted level, so people saying that they love the level, they played it. Number 16 most played level within the game. So really engaging level, getting Prius benefits, seeing how our message is getting across, but they also are generally engaged and really like the level. And to give you an idea, it takes about 10 minutes to complete it. So people are really playing it. It's in the millions right now of a number of people who have played it. And then completion rate really high. Okay. So overall, what can we learn? What are our lessons learned from this? Gaming is really one of the most compelling mediums, has really the undivided attention of the person who's playing at that time. And you can really use it to achieve multiple objectives, from awareness to purchase consideration to brand favorability. It just really depends on what you're using it to achieve. For us, it provides mass reach, but also a way to provide an engaging experience. Allows for unique and compelling integrations, but that also needs a lot of lead time. So it's not just something for us, if we're not just an advertiser putting our logo up there. It takes, sometimes up to a couple of months, 4 months out, and needs for us something that may be easier for other brands, but for automotive, it requires 3D CAD data, which isn't always available readily to be given to outside partners. Social gaming can grow our fan base, as we saw with Cartown. Really successful, one of the more successful ones that have grown our fan base, even above regular ads or other things. Tim talked about Social Vibe. We've done that before as well, as been successful in growing our fan base as well and keeping them, because we're providing something of value to the community. Increased brand recognition and positive association by creating organic in-game user experience, from downloadable content to virtual items or just giving free items away, making sure that we're really authentic and leveraging the behavior that they're already exhibiting in the game. And then the last thing, we find that audience sensitivity, especially for hardcore gamers, is higher in this. So if you do it right, it can really produce successful results. Thank you.
Okay, so a little game for you. If you hashtag a request to any of the folks, and it's time change is Tim's handle, to any of us, we'll make sure you get this presentation. Best kept secret, it feels like here. Saw a lot of tweets going on there. If you'd like to do a Pound Social Gaming question, we'll follow it here on Twitter. Anybody have some questions for our panel? In the back? Sure. So the question is, when you did the Cartown integration, did you push with other media?
No, just in-game on Cartown, use media there, and then through our social channels, so the Toyota Facebook page and the Prius Facebook page and other social channels, but no other media.
And we've heard that consistently, actually, that in-channel is actually probably some of the most effective converting But as you saw with the 7-Eleven and Zynga integration, there are some opportunities to bring a halo effect to your brand as well by implementing this into your brand. Question out there? So the question was budgets and internal resources. I'll take a quick cut on. You see the 4 levels we were talking about. You can get in for anywhere with a branded gift in the 10,000 range. You can go into a simple integration at the 200 to 500,000 level. And if you're coming for a branded, full-on branded experience, you're talking about bring about $1 million in your pocket for the highest level of engagement, and then if that helps at least tee up some of your thought, because he also said
that's
resources.
Great, because we don't talk about how much we pay for things, but thank you for asking. So I think
were my ranges right?
Yeah, you're about right. Yeah, you're right on. It really depends on the level of integration into the game. So if it's just a regular advertising, using it like regular web advertising, it's not expensive at all the way to something like a Little Big Planet or a Card Town or something like that. It can be more expensive, and it also requires a lot of lead time and coordination with people getting CAD data, for example, from Japan for us. Our agency, Sachi & Sachi, does a great job of coordinating the creative, and with Card Town and Monopoly and Little Big Planet, it was really integrated into the campaign, so that required even more integration. Other things that we've done in the past have just been one tactic to reach, to provide reach, and still integrated, but since this was a more coordinated effort, definitely took a lot of resources and time, planning for probably 4 months at least.
So just want to make the official announcement. We're probably seconds away from being done here, but if we're engaged, we've got a little bit of time in between sessions. We'll stay up here as long as you guys want to ask us questions. Go ahead.
Given the recent developments in monetization of Facebook and the disproportionate ability for them to influence that, do you think that the platforms that are on Facebook are going to be more open to advertising revenues because Facebook's getting cut into their virtual goods margins?
So Tim?
Yeah, absolutely. So just assume every platform will take a 20 to 30% tax on virtual currency that they sell on it. And so you'll take a 30% hit on your revenues. But meanwhile, advertising is just starting to open it up. And remember how I talked about the buy it or earn it model? The earn it part is completely untapped. That's all virgin territory. And I don't necessarily think that Facebook or other platforms will take a rev share on those advertising cuts per se.
You had a question?
First off, I love the panel. It's great, by the way. Back on the previous question, how are you measuring activity that you do with this versus traditional media? Do you have some metric you're using to?
Yeah, so we'll have a qualitative study. Don't have results yet. It's just finished at the end of March. When we worked with, for example, The Sims 3, we did an interpret qualitative study, which gave us astronomical increases in brand favorability, awareness, consideration, and actually knowledge of specific brand attributes that we wanted people to know. And then also it's just about engagement for us. So the philosophy is that, for us anyway, with anything that we do, if we create an engaging experience, people will spend more time with us and increase the likelihood that they'll remember our message. So it goes back to interaction, right?
Doug? Yeah, actually, do we have any folks from Zynga in the room or App Savvy? Anybody's from Playfish or Playdom? No? Okay, there we go. Definitely a good person to talk to about this. The question is, how do you approach it? We think a brief, just like you would creatively, to tighten the ballpark of what you're trying to go after. That brief should include your objectives, should include your assets, some of the things you're trying to get across, the before and after sort of objectives you have there. And then, I found these, when you get to the right people in these companies, I find them incredibly responsive. They'll bring the product managers or the studio folks in with you. You might need a couple weeks just to get their attention and to set up the meeting, but in the meeting you'll have a very productive session, whiteboard session, usually for about 2 hours or so. I think the implement from idea to execution could be 30 days. I mean, it's that quick.
Cool.
Any other questions?
I think, like I said, we really haven't tapped. Asian markets are really stingy in marketing and advertising. I think the U.S. is very attractive because there's a lot of advertising budget right now. But right now, our revenues for in-game ads are less than single digits, should I say? Single-digit revenue right now. That's why this new CPE thing is really, really attractive to us right now because it does bring a higher top line and also bottom line to us right now.
Yeah, there's a good reason not to have the kind of ads that Jimmy was talking about in these games. They're kind of pure environments. They're almost like a bad movie placement where someone says, no, in fact, I don't want an imported beer. I'd like to have a Budweiser instead in the middle of like a really important thriller scene. Those kind of interruptive activities aren't as interesting in these games, and we want to keep these areas pure. One of the objectives of coming here and talking about how to approach this is because the more people who write checks in the right way, I think keeps the environment clean. So
one thing I will say about that, I don't disagree, but I'll add something to that. I think that if you do it right, people will actually thank you for the advertiser being there. And so I think if you do it right, be conscious of what they're doing and what really provides meaning to them, and do it in a unique way. It can add value, and they'll ask for advertisers to come back.
Would you join me in thanking this panel for a great job today?